Hello, everybody. Gary Laubach, Mike Joseph. We are behind the mic, and we're going to start with the Lafayette Leopards. Coming off a shutout loss to Georgetown by a 17-0 score. Something hasn't happened to the Leopards since 2022 against Penn. Something hasn't happened in the Patriot League since 2019 against Colgate. So that famous college football prognosticator, prognosticator, Chicken Little, once said the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Is the sky falling?
Well, it was falling at the end of the game, I believe, but you have to regroup. Obviously, you got to put things behind you. You learn from this film, as you and I talked about in the post game, but you can't ever get too low and you can't ever get too high. Lafayette has had the highest of highs, and now they're basically coming and figuring the lowest of lows. So you got to find a way to stay even keel, and that comes from the top in John Troxell.
I don't think there's any question. You give up 17 points, you probably should still win that football game. So it's hard to put a lot of the blame on the defense in that ball game. Offense obviously put nothing up. Now the big question is, why did that happen? Dean had probably his worst game as a Leopard, as he completed just 26% of his passes. What were the problems offensively, Mike?
Well, I think offensively there wasn't a lot of rhythm. And I think teams are catching up with the style of Lafayette offense, which is a lot of RPO stuff, a lot of slants, a lot of fades. They don't use the middle of the field a lot. They can't get Jamar Curtis going. You pretty much got him. And that was, John Leone on the sideline talked very much about the defense of Georgetown and how they were built to stop the run. And coming into the game, if I'm the defensive coordinator for Georgetown, I need to stop Jamar Curtis or slow him down, and I need to stop the slants and the fades because that's where Lafayette goes. And they did a great job in all three of those phases. Never really got a chance to get Jamar off. And when Lafayette plays from behind, it seems they forget about number 5 a little bit. They don't get him still in the mix. You and I talked about 7-0 lead. Lafayette had the ball so many times to have a chance to go down the field, or 3-0 lead and either tie that game or go ahead. Even at 10-0, one drive is all it took. It took one drive, and you can't get 17 points on one drive. So Lafayette just seemed to be kind of forcing things. And then you saw Dean start to force things, some overthrows, some balls that hung on him, some balls that really got away from him a little bit, and then receivers dropped the football. So you've got to have everybody on the same page, and it just looked like Lafayette was forcing things toward the end.
And we should note that Georgetown is the best defensive team in the Patriot League, but if you want a shock, they gave up 40 points to Sacred Heart. So that doesn't make you feel all that comfortable coming into this ball game this week. As we take a look defensive, let's talk about the offense a little bit more. The offensive line is a patchwork right now. We have lost guys like Spencer Adams, Thomas Grippo, Brian Bausch. It's very difficult to do anything well without a good offensive line.
Yeah, and I think we took for granted Michael Barr and Olmstead and the guys we had last year, and also Mason Gilbert, who was a monster tight end standing next to a younger Dallas Holmes last year. We don't have that type of force. You look at the 3rd and 1 and the 4th and 1 that Lafayette didn't get down in toward the red zone. Those are huge plays where normally Jamar finds a seam, picks up the first down, you keep that drive alive. So right there is kind of a microcosm of their season, not being able to move the pile, not staying on double teams. There just doesn't seem to be enough. I may get Jamar a little deeper, may put him in the pistol, may put the quarterback under center, give him a little bit more time to read, and may be a one-cut kind of guy. But Jamar is a great inside-the-tackle runner, but I'd love to see him get to the edge, as you talked about it. Why don't we get him on the perimeter, throw him some quick screens, get him out there? So Lafayette is this week's going to have to spread the defense as wide as they do long. Normally do a good job throwing it downfield, but they're going to have to use all 53 yards this week.
What are you talking about inside the huddle?
We're going to talk about zone concepts. We're going to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about how we have to be better in our underneath 5 under 2 deep coverage, 4 under 3 deep coverage. We play a lot of zone. And then when we play that zone, we have to be good in it. We have to make sure that the middle linebacker's reading number 3, getting to the front side, getting to the back side. Narayan Brown, great interception last week. Rolled to the middle, came back, flopped his hips, went back. It was all zone coverage. The week before, Sekou White dropping into a fire zone, bringing an extra guy, having less guys underneath. Sekou White reading the quarterback, getting in the throwing lane, making plays. That's what it's all about for Lafayette. So zone concepts very important this week, and stopping the run. One thing I did tell you before we started, Lafayette gave up 190 yards rushing to Georgetown. 92 of those yards came on first down. 14 first down plays on the run, 3 passes. So they threw it almost 75%, or ran it 75% of the time. You must stop the run, and 2 of those plays came from coming out of their own green zone.
Right.
First and 10 at the 6, boom, they gave up 50-yard run. Then they ended up giving a 4. So they let them out of the hole. Those first down runs have to be led, or Lafayette's got to be better up front.
We had one loss last year in the Patriot League and went on to win the championship. So this cannot be a devastating loss. Maybe it has to be a wake-up call. I'm not sure we need that, but we certainly need a victory. It won't be easy. This is not a Patriot League game, obviously, with Sacred Heart, but they are a good football team. We've beaten them the last 2 years. 19-14 last year, 6-0. We beat them in 22. So they're a team that's usually loaded with a lot of speed, a lot of offense. We've been able to defend it, however, pretty well. So they're led by John Mikowski. We saw him a little bit last year as a freshman. He's a 6'2", 203. He's a big quarterback. He's a sophomore. He has 3 touchdowns this year, completes 57% of his passes. He's not great, but he's also pretty steady.
Yeah, he's a steady quarterback. He's got to run that offense. He's got to be a game manager type thing. Use their running backs, the guys like Madison and Lee. Those kids can run the football. And then off the play action, get the ball to a 6'4" wide receiver like Hillman. I mean, these are the things that they have to do. So they're going to need to run the ball, control the ball. We talked about time of possession, which was a huge factor against Lafayette. 8 minutes of time of possession the first half for Lafayette's not going to do it. But so Sacred Heart's got to go to school on this tape, okay? They beat this Georgetown team. We got kind of handled by this Georgetown team. They need to look at that tape and say, okay, what things can we do well against Lafayette?
Right.
That's run the football, use Mikowski, maybe get him out of the pocket a little bit, roll the pocket, create some zone coverage, and get the ball out and use a 6'4" wide receiver.
Yeah, they're not a devastating offense. They only get like 16 points a ball game. Their defense is pretty good at 20 points a ball game. And obviously, Mark Onofre has been around a long time, 12 years at the helm. Defensively, though, they've got 2 terrific linebackers. Miles Talley and Nick Verbitsky, they're as good as they come.
Oh, they just run sideline to sideline. They make plays. And if you don't, and that would bother me, if Lafayette's offensive line doesn't get to the second level and can't get fits on those linebackers, they're running free. And a lot of time the D-line doesn't get a lot of credit, but when they don't make tackles, that means your linebackers are running free, making tackles, your safeties are. So D-linemen taking on double teams, allowing guys like Talley to run. They're terrific inside out. They can go sideline to sideline. And then are they going to blitz? Are they get in the face and put a little bit more pressure? Dean's coming off a 0 touchdown, 4 interception game.
Right.
I think they're going to come after him and make him get rid of the football. So does Lafayette have the answers against a tough defense?
And a tough defensive line. That's led by Nate Chandler, 6'4", 269, just a sophomore, 31 tackles, 6.5 tackles for a loss, and 5.5 sacks. And this ball club is another one that can sack you. I think they're up to 12 to 14 sacks a game.
Yeah, and the last thing I have is, Lafayette defensively, no sacks, and they've given up 4 more. So this goes back to the offensive line. What's Coach Trox and Coach Kevin Bauman going to do? They've got to secure that up front. Got to make sure the ball's coming out quick. Maybe move the pocket, change the actual launch point. So the launch point for the quarterback, for Dean, is normally 5 to 7 yards behind the center. It doesn't change very often. So can we roll him out? Can we run some bootlegs? Can we get him on the edge a little bit? Maybe change that launch point to get away from that rush.
Well, you'll see what exactly we will do on Saturday afternoon. Another 12:30 start. Tune in at 12 o'clock on ESPN Plus when we do our 15-minute pregame show. Megan and John and Phil do a terrific job getting us ready for the football game. Make sure you go inside the huddle with Mike. My thanks again to Will Newsidle for his background information for me as a big help. And again, thanks to you for spending time with us behind the mic.